Hey, how's it going, everyone? Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Today we picked up the block from work and brought it home. I'll show you a little bit of the process. I will say this: if you're actually bringing a block from one place, whether it's a wrecking yard or from work or whatever, back to the house to do any kind of work to it, make sure you have that thing strapped down pretty good, because I thought we had it strapped down pretty good. It seemed pretty stable. Ratchet strap seemed pretty tight, and as soon as I turned the corner, the whole thing came over, so that was interesting. But at any rate, lesson learned. So we got it out of the truck. Minor damage to the distributor, which we were changing out anyways. Block's still okay. The engine stand appears to be holding up quite strong. Did run into a couple of issues with the bolts that I had previously. Some of the threads may be stretched in the block, so we might have to clean those up. Possibly, I don't know if I want to do a helicoil. We'll just see. If I can get a different bolt, and if it bolts up, then we're good. But if it keeps pulling itself out like I was having issues with, then we might have to run an oversized bolt or helicoil it. But the block is here, and it's now back at the house. So what does that mean for us? There's a few things. So first off, I don't know that we want to start getting down and ripping and tearing just yet. We might at least get down to the, we might at least take the head off, because we do have to find out whether or not we can even use this block. That is like the biggest question ahead. Because if this block is non-usable, then it's junk. We got to dump it. Now, this block did have low compression in at least 2 cylinders that I remember. It came out of a 92 Jeep Cherokee, and that's the reason why we ended up just switching blocks. The guy bought his own used block, wanted us to switch them out, so we did. I'm hoping that this block has never been machined or anything else, and if it hasn't, we're good to go. We can start making preparations. So first things first, we got to get the head off. So we'll do a video this month of taking the head off and just kind of inspecting visually what we can inspect. And if it's possible, I don't know that I can get a micrometer set in time. If I can't, that'll have to wait until next month. If I can, then we'll start checking things like the cylinder bore diameter, the maximum taper, maximum out of round, things like that. The block flatness, so we'll see if we need to deck it. These things are important, so you need to know what you're dealing with before you end up diving into it, because if this thing's already overboard, if it's beyond 40 thousandths and it's been done once or twice before, then there's no point in using it. And in that case, what I've talked to my boss about is maybe we'll just do an LS build. So we'll see what happens. We got to get measurements from this block first, see if it's usable. If it's usable, great, we'll run it. If it's not usable, we may end up building an LS motor instead. He may decide to go with an LS build instead. So we're both talking back and forth trying to figure it out. I really want to build this Jeep 4-liter engine up, but we may very well end up doing an LS engine. So I don't know. I'm going to play it by ear. I'm not going to get too crazy over this weekend. I do want to get the head off. I do want to see if we have an ability of being able to measure the bore and make sure everything's good to go. And if it is, cool. What I'll do is I'll mask off the top to prevent any weathering occurring, even though it is garage kept. I want to try to maintain the total seal. I'm not going to bother removing the oil pan or the pistons or anything like that right now. We're not going to be removing the water pump or the timing cover or nothing like that right now, because the biggest thing, like I said, we want to measure it first, see if it's even usable. If it's usable, cool, then we can totally run it. If it's usable and he decides that he wants to do an LS build instead, then we'll go the LS route and we'll do the Jeep build at a later date. If it's not usable, then we'll just dive right into the LS build. So those are the things that we got ahead of us for right now. So this month, definitely want to do a video where we can at least take the head off and get the measurements done. We'll see where we're at come next month. Other than that, the engine stand looks like it's holding up great. Pretty excited about that. I'm excited about getting back into engine building. It's been a passion of mine for ever since I was in college. From my first small block Chevy I ever rebuilt, it's just been a passion of mine. And I think, if I think about it, and I sit here and I think about it quite a bit, especially now that I'm getting the hamster turning again, I think that if I ever did open up my own shop, it would be an engine build shop. I would just have, you know, people come in, bring their engines in, and I would rebuild them. I wouldn't have to worry about yanking and ripping or anything like that. I'd have to consider what kind of warranty I would put behind them, but I would do an engine build. That would be what I would do, engine builds all the time. And if nothing else, then I would buy used blocks from Craigslist or the junkyard and just start tearing through them and rebuilding them, and then turn around and then sell them for even more than what I have into it to try to make a profit. So I was thinking about that, so that'd be pretty cool. But here in my garage, I've got enough space in here for at least one more engine. I don't want, you know, to fill the whole garage up to where I can't move around and I've got engines everywhere and none of them are being worked on, but I've got enough room for one more engine. We'll just see what happens. I've also got a 6-liter diesel that I got to try to pull the cam out at work, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm very excited to get into this. Okay, so after that, the next thing that we got to do, so after, if we did, whatever the determining factor is, the other thing that we got to do is we have to buy the kit itself. That's going to be the most expensive part of this journey, is buying the actual stroker kit. Once we buy the stroker kit, then we can make a motion to get the block sent down to the machine shop and have them go through, and if it needs to be bored, it's bored. If it needs to be decked, it's decked. If it needs to be line board, then it's line board, so that way that we can install new cam bearings. But they need the bearings, the pistons, how big are we trying to go. If you want to get the engine balanced, which I always recommend, then you need to make sure you have the crank, and they need the crank to do that. So lots and lots of thought process goes behind this. So before you take it to a machine shop, you need to buy the kit, and you need to know what it is that you're going to want to do with the engine. So first, measure it, make sure the block's usable. Second, purchase the kit. Third, make steps or motions to take the block down to the machine shop, have them hot tank it, all that other stuff. There's lots of things on the block that you can do yourself, like punching out the freeze plugs. If you want to save a few dollars, pay them $35, $55, whatever it is. Have them replace the cam bearings. That'll save you, what, $300 to $500. You don't have to buy the special tool for that, unless you want to buy the special tool, which we may borrow one from work to do this block. If this is the route that we're going, we may borrow the tool from work to do the cam bearings ourselves. I hadn't come to that conclusion yet, but we may end up doing it ourselves. So special tools required for installing and removing the camshaft bearings. So there's that goes into place. Also, there's thoughts about potentially putting on an Edelbrock aluminum head, but again, that's going to come at a higher cost. So we can either spend anywhere between $300 and $600 to have the cast iron head rebuilt, have the seats ground down, ported, polished, and cleaned up, and then we can replace the valve springs, we can replace the valve seals on our own, but then we need to know how much pounds of pressure for the springs that we want to put in. We'll need to determine what kind of push rods we're going to use, which will come down to the camshaft. Now the camshaft's going to cost money too, so if we put a factory cam in, obviously it kind of takes away the point of doing a stroker build. So you're going to want to get a fatter cam lobe. So you might go like what we refer to as a RV cam of some kind. And I'll probably go with comp cam for that. So that's going to be an expensive item to add to the puzzle too. So there's that. There's also you know, the beauty factor of it, because of course you're building this new engine, you're doing the whole thing. Now it comes down to like priming it, painting it. Do you want to I would put on a brand new valve cover just so it looked good and clean. Some people would recommend putting in ARP studs. Some people would just get factory bolts to put in. I don't mind the ARP stud route. That could be kind of cool. Then you have, you know, do you want to put in like eagle rods or anything like that? So you can change the rods out. You can get Keith Black pistons instead of using the pistons that come in the kit. So there's all these different things. Instead of doing a double roller for timing chain, you can go to gears if you want to go gears. So, you know, and who wants a rusty harmonic balancer on there where the ring is slightly worn? Why not just get another harmonic balance pulley to put on it? Then there's the new water pump, and maybe you want to put a shiny thermostat housing on it. So lots and lots of things go into the mix as far as like, to what extreme do you want to go as far as building a block or putting performance behind the block? So that's stuff to think about, right? Now, of course, if you're doing you just want to ring it, hone it, all that other stuff, you need to find out if the dimensions suit the hone. If it does, you can hone it yourself with a drill and make a honeycomb thing that you can hone it. And then you can, if the bearings don't look bad, you can reuse the bearings. Of course, you always want to try to replace them, but you could reuse the cam bearings and maybe just replace the rod and main cap bearings and change some seals out, clean it up, pretty it up, paint it, all other stuff, put it all back together, and you might get another, you know, 100 to 200K out of it. It all depends on how much you want to put into it, what kind of involvement you want to have behind it. For me, there's really no rush behind this project. I kind of want to take my time with it. I'm working with my boss as far as communication goes, as far as what we want to do to it, how far we want to go with it. Do we want to go with a 4.6 stroker? Do we want to go with the 4.7 stroker? So lots of things go into the mix. Of course, you're also going to need you're also going to need a master gasket kit because you're going to be replacing gaskets too. And then it's like the intake manifold, the headers, etc., freeze plugs. If you want to change out the oil plugs and things like that. So lots and lots of stuff, guys. Lots and lots of stuff. Well, that's all I got for this video, guys. This is going to be part 1 of the Jeep build. Just kind of giving you the lowdown, what we can expect as far as going into it, the thought process behind it, some of the steps that are involved as far as like making preparations and making sure that all your T's are slashed and I's are dotted. So this will be video 1, starting the build series, and I hope that we can build a 4.6 or 4.7 stroker out of this thing. So we'll just see. We gotta take measurements. But alright, guys, that's all I got for this video. Thanks as always for watching. If you stuck around this far, I'm gonna throw up a couple of quick little videos here, just kind of showing you the process of taking it out of the truck and putting it on the engine stand. So thanks as always for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers to those of you that have your beers, and I hope you get a chance to enjoy your weekend. Deuces. Time to get her done, son. Cooking with Crisco now. There we go. There we go. Freaking diamonds. Get our Jesus pin. Have that little hot rod in there. Looks like it's going to support it. Let's just check it out first. Well, there she is.
It's on the stand, dripping a little bit of oil. But this is the project in the works here. We're just gonna have to play it by ear and see how it unfolds.